EMI की बात कर रहे हैं. Hello guys.
Banking analyst, so.
Markets surprisingly up.
Surprisingly?
Very.
Despite global, surprisingly because the global headwinds were against us in the morning.
Yeah,
Trump
that's
tariff was something which was...
Qs were negative.
Yeah, Qs were negative. There are a couple of two events which are happening, and I think that could be one of the few factors which is there. One, the Nifty rebalancing, which is, or index rebalancing, which is happening. So passive funds will come towards the afternoon, and I think the active ones are now churning some of them. The second one is the derivatives expiry, which is happening. That's something we till yesterday I think Nifty had 50% rollover, so rollover is quite good, but in terms of amount it's lower. So let's see how people are going to do it, because we have a long weekend coming.
Yeah.
And after the long weekend, I think second is when the announcement is going to come from Trump, and that announcement is going to set stage for others. Pharma is down today, if I'm not wrong, and that's understandable because aapka pura, if you look at the entire thing, it's basically Pharma, which is the only one which is Pharma.
Auto of
and
course,
auto and healthcare is down. And after auto, I think the expectation is that there will be something for Pharma coming up. And that's something which is going to be there.
So
Puneet joins us.
Puneet joins us today
for auto, and Trump ने जो ऑटो का हाल किया है उसके बारे में, टाटा मोटर का हाल किया है उसके बारे में बात करने के लिए एक्चुअली उसके लिए. But before that, 25 likes.
Yeah, 25 likes, guys. So please hit the like button, hit subscribe, so that the content that we're doing, which you seem to be liking, at least gets
the
better
producers हमको चाबी लगाते रहते हैं कि आप लोग
otherwise the show will shut down.
बोलते रहते हैं कि likes लाओ, नहीं तो हम produce नहीं करेंगे.
But the thing is, it's very difficult for like people like me to come in because the show has been doing so well. Like potentially replace even for a day, because then I feel like that CSK.
You've replaced Neeraj sir today.
I can't absolutely replace anyone. So I'm just here to tell people कि मुझे बोला गया है कि यहाँ कि ये करना है. I feel like CSK के मैच में वो 5वां विकेट जाता है and people are like धोनी और आता है जडेजा. पूरा expectation हो जाता है and then they're like कि तो out हो अभी कुछ हो जाए.
तो धोनी वापस आए.
तो धोनी आए, तुम रन आउट हो जाओ. तो मुझे ऐसी वाली फीलिंग आ रही है.
100% unscripted, okay guys.
मैं सोच रहा था कि आज तो ये कमेंट्स आने की, मैं बैठा हूँ जब हर्ष नहीं था, मिस यू हर्ष, अरे हमारे लिए भी कुछ बोल दो यार, हमको बोला जा रहा है हम इधर आने के लिए.
No guys, but thank you so much for all the love. So hit like, hit subscribe, please.
So let's go to
auto.
Why auto? तो simple terms में बताओ.
हाँ जी.
25% जो टैरिफ आया है वो क्या है और इंडियन ऑटो कंपनीज को कैसे इम्पैक्ट करेगा?
So I think currently I think the tariff structure is very skewed in favor of India. I think we charge about 110% on any import of a car, and US charges about 2.5% tariff. So it's very skewed. Plus they have a very good trade agreement with UK, with Canada, and with Mexico on the USMCA. So usme Tata Motors was a beneficiary. They sell 1 lakh cars of JLR in FY24 last year. So uspe there's a duty, hence we are seeing that impact there. And then the others, which we are seeing an impact on Bharat Force.
No, sorry, can you come back? How many units do they sell?
1 lakh. So that's roughly about 25% of what they sell globally.
This is Tata Motors combined, or this is
JLR?
Globally, in
This
the
is
sense
just
that total
JLR.
sales का 25% या
Yes.
global sales का 25%?
Are you sure it's not 38? Because I was
No,
just
so
reading some other
Q3
stuff.
specifically was 38.
Okay.
And
fair. Sorry, yes.
so FY, so they sell roughly about 4 lakh cars. In
Got
a
it.
year. 1 lakh goes in the US, and that's a high growth market. It wasn't around the 25% mark. It was always around the 15-20, but it has grown now because markets like China and UK are not growing. तो टाटा मोटर्स पे आपका वो इम्पैक्ट है. एंड कंपोनेंट्स पे भारत फोर्स, सोना, BLW is because 70% of their revenues come from outside India, and for Sona BLW it's 40% from the US, for Bharat Forge it's 25%, for Motherson it's 18%. So we are seeing that kind of a impact on auto component makers.
So just to give you a perspective here, what he's saying, between India and US, the trade is very skewed in the sense that or if you look at auto as an entire basket, which includes auto and auto components, then the total, the effective tax rate is coming to 25%. If you break it down between auto, which is passenger cars and others, and then auto components, which is which you're talking about, sonobuoys and others, then auto passenger cars and others segment, the taxation is between 30 to 100%, which is there. For the auto components, it's around 7.5%, which is there. And look at what US charges. US charges less than 1% for auto as a whole, and auto components scale around 1%. So it's around 1% for them, and versus 7.5% for auto segment, which we are doing, auto components, and 30 to 100%. So that's the kind of skew which is there, and that's something which may be impacted going forward from April 2nd. अभी जो हो रहा है वो सिर्फ मैं जो खरीदूंगा, मीन्स यूएस जो बोलता है मैं जो मेरे कंट्री में आप जो लाओगे उसके लिए मुझे 25%, एंड दैट ऑन एड वाला. सो बेसिकली अगर आप कोई भी ट्रीटी के अंदर हो, that's what if you look at the key words, it says that if you are under the US Mexico Canada agreement or any other free trade agreement, you will have to submit to the Secretary of Commerce a declaration saying what is the actual kind manufacturing percentage in that car which has been done. वो माइनस करके बाकी जो अमाउंट होगा उसमें 25% मिलेगा.
Actual manufacturing within the US.
Within the US.
So say supposing on a 10 lakh rupee car or a $10,000 car, you're looking at 50% which is manufactured in the US, 50% components imported, then 50% pay. Just for clarity, then उस पे ड्यूटी लग जाएगी.
ड्यूटी लग जाएगी. अब ये तो कार पे है. अभी ऑटो कंपोनेंट्स में क्या होगा वो तो रेसिप्रोकल में आएगा.
हाँ, वो अभी तक they have not put out any kind of.
Do you see any negative for see
सर पहले I have a couple of questions on Tata Motors.
हाँ वही टाटा मोटर्स के पूछ रहा था मैं.
हाँ ओके.
मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि जो
नेगेटिव
नहीं मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि टाटा मोटर्स के लिए नेगेटिव किस लिए है?
So one is of course that most of the cars are manufactured outside the US. They don't have any manufacturing for JLR. So जो भी import हो रहा है from UK, from Europe, that is going to get 25% tariffs. The only thing which I see is because their own car makers, Ford and General Motors, have said that we are going to also find difficult if you say कि Mexico, because they have their plants in Mexico. So there's still some hope, but that is the problem, that it's getting imported, and I don't think they'll have a lot of local components used in those vehicles, because if it's manufactured in the UK, you won't generally have parts from the US as well. It's a very difficult trade.
But
so that is a specific impact.
We need to look it into perspective as well. JLR की जो गाड़ियाँ हैं, डिस्कवरी है या रेंज रोवर है या जैगुआर हैं, they are competing with the BMWs and the Audis and other Mercedes of the world, right? That's how it is there. The pricing is almost the similar thing. So if pricing goes up for all of them at the time, is it going to be ceteris paribus for them? Means it's everything equal. सबके बढ़ा तो मेरा भी बढ़ा.
पर सर कंजम्पशन तो नीचे चला जाएगा ना.
हाँ, but जो लैंड रोवर खरीदेगा उसके लिए कंजम्पशन उतना नहीं होता है.
सर I don't know यार. I beg to differ. If you're buying
ये वाली बात है कि लैंड रोवर लेके आप पूछते हो कि भाई
20% से बढ़ गया $60,000, जमीन आसमान का फर्क हो गया ना. $10,000 is quite a lot.
That is going to be something to see, because if that demand gets transferred, it's very difficult. Like if you're buying a Mercedes in the US, you won't go and buy a local US car. You have that aspiration of buying a Jaguar or a BMW or Mercedes. So that is going to be seen if that something happens, because I don't think you'll go and buy a Tesla then. It won't be like that. So I think that is there. They put out a very interesting stat that they had roughly 1.6 crores cars that Americans bought last year. And out of that, roughly 8 million, only like half of them were assembled in America, and that only had like 40 to 50% components.
So
and
basically,
this is what they only put it out.
So effectively, the prices of all cars in America is going to go up.
ये जो अमेरिका में बन रहा है उसमें भी सिर्फ 50% components है, which is basically you're getting a lot from Mexico and Canada, I'm assuming. So that is a big problem which he wants to change.
Realistic है क्या? वो बताओ.
It could be, but it will
have it's a long-term thing. Long-term thing,
yeah, and like
long-term is understandable. Long-term, तो so you mitigate the risk by setting up a factory in the US
that
and finishing it off.
तीन साल. But then the cost of running those factories, the whole purpose of those factories, which were earlier there in the US and now have gone migrated to Mexico or Canada or any other country
Yeah.
is the reason
Is
of-
costs and regulatory.
cost and regulatory. I mean, regulatory we need regulatory if you're selling
Labor-
in the car.
labor laws,
Yeah,
etc.
labor laws
That-
and
from
everything.
that perspective,
Yeah,
I'm
that
saying.
point.
I think it was very interesting because average, this was from Nomura report, average hourly wage in India is $1.5. It's 2.5 in Mexico. And in the US, it's 15. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
roughly 6-7 times of Mexico only. So I think that will be sort of difficult to change. And people in the US, what have they been doing? They've stopped buying in March only. They knew that it's coming. Vehicle will cost more. So it's not like they are pre-buying. There's nothing happening. Because अभी वो
Oh, इंडिया में होता है प्री बाइंग
हाँ,
रेट अप्रैल फर्स्ट से जा रहा था अभी
वहाँ
वो
पे तो
खरीद लो।
जनरल मोटर्स ने प्राइस ऑलरेडी बढ़ा दिया है. So it's like people have just stopped buying. So they are like कि my rent is hampering me and my sales aren't happening. 60 का 80,000 हो गया ट्रक का कॉस्ट तो कैसे भरूंगा मैं? So I think
Understood. Sorry. So in terms of
So
top
the
line,
impact on the auto components because of this.
No, sir. Before that, Tata Motors. I'm sorry.
ठीक है,
Sorry.
ठीक है,
I
Tata
want to
Motors.
finish Tata
हाँ,
Motors.
Tata
Yeah.
Motors
So Tata Motors, okay. So 4 lakh का sales करता है JLR. उसमें से 1 lakh is to US,
US.
which will get impacted. Tata Motors की top line पे क्या impact होगा?
it could be major because Jaguar is roughly about 70% of the revenue.
Correct.
But I feel like while that revenue might happen, I think there'll be an EBITDA and an EBIT cost impact which might happen because
Which
you
will be
won't be
higher
because you won't be able to
proportionally.
immediately pass it on, right? I think it will be demand and you can't immediately stop selling in the US. ऐसा तो होगा नहीं. So I think eventually in quarter 1 we might see that, and I think the commentary in this quarter is going to be very important for Tata Motors because अभी जाके they were going to meet their guidance 8.5% EBIT.
So मोटा मोटी top line पे क्या impact है यार?
Top
वो
line,
बताओ.
I feel like it's going to be impacting on the margins rather than
But
on
top line is net of taxes ना.
top line पे मेरे को
हाँ,
नहीं
अगर
लगता
अगर
होगा.
अगर आपके numbers 4 लाख ही
But
रहेंगे
if
अगले 4
demand
तो
only
number
falls, then automatically
हाँ,
top line will get impacted.
और if you're saying
Sorry, I'm
that
just
okay,
trying to pull out.
and if you're trying to say that okay demand fall होता है then there will be an impact on top line which will be there.
Yeah.
Assuming that 30% hit होता है
Yeah.
तो 1 लाख की जगह 70,000 कार से बिकते
I
हैं.
think मेरा ये है कि last 6 साल से 2019 to 25 they have sold only 4 lakhs cars globally. I think US का share might have gone from 70,000 to 1 lakh in 6 years, but उनका sales growth हुआ ही नहीं है. The only thing they've done is cost control. कि उनका EBITDA has gone from 8% to 15% in last 6 years. So I think going forward, I think it will be a bigger problem for Mercedes, BMW. I think because वो लोग के लिए it's like it's a growth area for US and that will be I think something which will be a major impact for them versus Tata Motors. उनका तो growth था ही नहीं 6 साल से, वही number है, same ही है.
So okay, if I were to look at it this way,
Yeah.
4.4.5 lakh crore is the roughly trailing 12 months top line of Tata Motors.
Tata Motors, yes.
Okay, out of that 2/3 comes from the US. 3 lakh crore पकड़ के चलो. Ballpark number.
I think 2/3 will be from JLR as a whole.
Oh sorry, JLR as a
Yeah,
whole.
yeah,
And out of this 3 lakh crore, 1/4 comes from the US.
US, yeah.
So around इसमें भी 75,000 पकड़ के चलो. 75,000 करोड़ का top line impact अगर ये आएगा तो margins तो will fall for sure because
yeah.
your fixed cost will be elevated. तो इस पे तो बहुत बड़ा impact आएगा is the guess. Much more than the 5-6% reaction we are seeing today on the stock.
There are two scenarios which will play out. One, the entire cost would be borne by the US consumer, which we are hearing like in retail and others. They think that the cost will be borne because the agreements are made in such a way that you have to bear the cost which is there. In that scenario, the only impact is the volumes which were 1 lakh, it may come down. And as a result of which, the top line will come down. And then they will have to find other markets for those additional 30-40,000 units to sell. Right? That's one. The second is that JLR will have to absorb some part of the cost, which is unlikely to happen in any case.
Yeah.
Right? Means, so if they absorb, then the margins which have climbed to 15% will come down again.
Yeah.
In that sense. And the stock is slightly down today because उसकी वजह से नीचे
75,000 करोड़ के टॉप लाइन पे इम्पैक्ट आएगा. 10% तो 7,500 करोड़ का टॉप लाइन इम्पैक्ट. 20% तो 15,000 करोड़ का इम्पैक्ट ऑन टॉप लाइन. I'm saying that's probably the best. But is that the right way to look at it, Puneet?
Yeah, I mean it would be the right way to look at it. I think the only thing I feel is going to be cost impact first and revenue impact later. I don't feel demand will like drastically just fall because of this. But yeah, because Q3 is very big for the US market. It's like roughly 40% of the volume. So I think they will hope that part is there. But knowing Tata Motors, they will look at some kind of clarification on this with the US government and the call will be very interesting to listen about.
इसका impact auto components में क्या होगा? Reduced demand, right?
Reduced demand, yes.
That's the only thing.
And I think they will.
So
have
your
to,
global exposure, global export revenues will come down.
Yeah.
और subsidies के जो revenues हैं वो will come down, and as a result of which the impact will come.
And you're seeing that because Bharat Forge almost 52-week lows, so BLW 52-week lows. Motherson it's fallen from 200 to 130, but there was a very interesting note. CLS is saying it could be actually an opportunity for Motherson because they already have a plant in Alabama.
Correct.
So that is one thing, but again, cost impact उनको भी पड़ेगा पहले.
सिंपल सी बात है, प्लांट अल्बामा में होना और वही कंपोनेंट बनाने में फर्क होता है.
पर यार ऑल्टरनेटिव क्या है? Say, and please correct me if I'm thinking incorrectly. Say supposing US का total all auto sales is say 1 lakh rupees. Example, right? ये 1 लाख रुपए किधर ना किधर तो जाएगा. People will still continue to buy cars, right? They may buy lower end cars, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to gauge which companies will actually benefit from this, because if demand is coming down, also somewhere else demand is going up, whether that's locally in the US or otherwise. Which are those companies?
That is a very big interesting question, but very distinct because all companies are affected.
क्योंकि गाड़ियाँ तो लोग खरीदना कम नहीं करेंगे. Largely car sales will remain the same.
The logical answer would be the local ones, right?
Correct.
Ford, GM.
Correct.
But they all have plants in Mexico.
So exactly what I'm trying to understand.
The one thing which is still an unknown, which is the agreements, like the free trade agreement with UK, the USMCA. So I think unpe, which you mentioned, unpe they'll have to quantify how much is local, and I think that is the only way to get out of this, at least in the short term.
Means so you have to increase your local content.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
चलो ठीक है.
चलो questions.
So that could be an opportunity for
question.
guys like Motherson and all this.
Thank you for the 25 likes, guys. So yes, watching from South Sudan, lots of love. Thank you. Sincerely appreciate you taking out time, sitting in a different country and watching us. Means a lot to all of us here, as well as Neeraj sir, who's sitting in the newsroom, hiding in the newsroom, if I can say. He's not come today, but okay. Love the show. Would like to take your view on sector that would lead the next bull market rally. Banks and BFCs haven't performed in the last 3 to 5 years. What's the sector which will lead the bull market rally in your view now?
In the next 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5 years.
I'm
Consumption.
My bet was very clearly on infra, infra defense. And I do see a comeback rally of consumption, but not in the next 3 quarters, but maybe to 2027, 627, वहाँ पर आएगा. But infra defense are going to, and new energy is going to be.
I see 3 years. I see large private banks doing very well.
Yeah.
3 years.
वो तो हर साल करते हैं.
नहीं. Last 4 साल से तो नहीं किया. Large private banks 3 ही. 3 ही है.
अच्छा चौथा कौन सा है? वो आता जाता रहता है.
हाँ.
वो 4 में आता है फिर नीचे चले जाता है, 4 में आता है नीचे चले जाता है.
So I feel these 3 will do well. So anyway, point being that. Anyway, so yeah, so that's one. Shrikar Reddy, my yesterday's query regarding.
Yes, Shrikar, we will come back to you on that query.
Oh, first Christ PNLO, damn. Mahima ko nahi pucha.
महिमा को हम महिमा को
Shrikar, we
लेकर आएंगे.
will come back on this. Apologies. Bridul, please mark this so that we can ask Mahima. Thank you, guys. Srivatsa Rao, why rate gain is down so much even though tourism and high-end discretionary spend has not gone down? Rate gain. Travel
एक वैल्यूएशन पे ना ट्रैवल टेक है, पर ये ट्रैवल टेक जो है डायरेक्ट B2C नहीं है, B2B है इसका. So it is more mainly into enterprise with hotels and big travel houses and other stuff. So they provide that kind of stuff. So the valuation at which it came and the kind of listing it had, there has been a correction on that. Growth is it's not a exponential growth. Of course, travel has been going up, or hotels, hospitality, all are going up there, but it's not directly linked to hospitality, and that's the reason why you're going to see some kind of muted growth coming in rate gain. Again, in the mid cap and small cap space, we have seen a lot of correction happening, 30-40% correction happening in the prices of the companies. So that's one of the reasons. So yes, company is good. It has a good business moat which is there, which is to enterprise customers and mostly in the global areas basically. डोमेस्टिक में उतना नहीं है, ये बाहर का जो है ट्रैफिक अंदर कैसे लेकर आता है उस पर काम करता है. So if there is going to be some kind of slowdown globally, then there would be global slowdown for its sales. But from a travel point of view, it's hardly linked in that sense.
And sorry, frankly, not enough knowledge, but when I'm just looking at the trailing 12-month numbers, it's just a 10% growth. It's a stock which was 50 plus in terms of PE multiple. A 10% growth on top line is not impressive, right? So maybe that is one factor playing out. Maybe you want to understand the business better if it's a pure software play and can just cross-sell its current product and is doing it well. Then and if there are reasons for the sluggish growth, then it may well be an opportunity as well.
Yeah, because so in March itself, it's given up nearly 13%. February was a bad month, 30% down. It was down in February. So it's been it's falling for all in the last 2 years, 23 and 24 में March में काफी गिरावट हुई है इसकी. So that's what our charts are showing us.
Yeah.
So look at the fundamentals. Look at how it's growing. It is a product kind of business, enterprise kind of business, and B2B in
TBA Tech competitor, peer of this या नहीं? TBA Tech.
TBO Tech.
Yeah, the new listing. I think that is also something similar only.
Yeah,
frankly, no knowledge.
TBO Tech को कौन सा ये Blackburn वाला?
नहीं वो तो Zinc है.
Zinc है, sorry.
I think TBO Tech is also something similar.
Similar, but ये international देखता है.
Yeah. I think TBO Tech is also international, but could be an interesting thing.
And they have a good market share in the international business actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Kinshuk Bharadwaj, will this quarter be the bottom for microfinance lenders in terms of slippages? That is what commentary seems to be suggesting, Kinshuk. Difficult to put and pinpoint and say, yes, this is the bottom. But seems like it. And if it were the bottom, you will likely see a good bounce back in stocks as well, ideally.
Hey, tell me one thing. There's one thing which is hanging, right, in this segment. The number of borrowers that can happen, that can be allowed in an MFI.
Less than 4.
Less than 4. अभी 4 के ऊपर जा रहा है, and they were supposed to do it in January 1st. They pushed it to April or something.
वो होगा because it's difficult to let an account go, right? So I mean, think about it. If a borrower has 5 different loan accounts, now if I am a microfinance institution, how do I let the borrower go now? I mean, you've just suddenly come out with this regulation to say that.
पर microfinance मतलब short term loans होते हैं ना?
हाँ.
Right? तो वो लोन खत्म होने के बाद तो नेक्स्ट चौथा पांचवा नहीं दे सकते ना.
हाँ, बट अभी डिफॉल्ट किया है तो क्या करेंगे, राइट?
तो एनपीए करेंगे. ओके.
हाँ, तो एनपीए रिकॉग्नाइज करके फिर रिकवरी भी करना है ना सर.
हाँ, तो रिकवरी
रिकॉग्नाइज तो कर दिया है, अभी रिकवरी तो करना पड़ेगा. अकाउंट
दैट्स अ डिफरेंट प्रोसेस. हाँ, 4 अकाउंट से कम होने चाहिए. तो
अभी फ्रेश इंक्रीमेंटल लेंडिंग नहीं हो रहा है वो सेगमेंट में, तो वो एक अच्छी चीज है.
तो वो अच्छी चीज है और
एक अच्छी चीज है.
वो अच्छी चीज है जो आने वाली है, पर वो अब इम्प्लीमेंट होगा बिकॉज द एसोसिएशन वाज गोइंग अगेंस्ट इट, राइट?
नो सर, आई थिंक द एसोसिएशन इज नाउ अग्रेसिवली लुकिंग एट कि बॉस इसको कंट्रोल कैसे करे, बिकॉज एमफिन एज द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज एमफिन इज ट्राइंग टू कंट्रोल द प्रॉब्लम इन माइक्रो फाइनेंस, बट so they are also working in tandem with the RBI. In fact, their parameters are only getting harsher and harsher on all microfinance institutions.
But IndusInd, peers like IndusInd and IndusInd is a separate issue, but they've said that Q1 tak bhi there could be some listing, right? Because in Q3 they said that
So impact will continue to come. Because and why is that? Because you'll have 30, 60, 90 day recognition periods which will stagger and come through. But slippages, fresh slippages might stop. And if that stops, then eventually in 2 quarters credit costs will also start making.
But do you think it makes sense to look at players who are just like restricting instead of 4 at 3 lenders ki? अगर 3 के ऊपर जा रहे तो I'll stop here with that particular lender.
अभी तो सब कर रहे हैं. So frankly, there is no differentiation here. This should have happened at the time when before the problem started. Ideally, that should be the outlook, but we're a little late in terms of the cycle. Okay, it's all about the fun. Being a Club Mahindra member, the subscription is not a win-win, though their properties are good. Reason why the stock isn't performing.
There are a couple of things.
Would you want to comment on the subscription?
First part.
So are you a subscriber in
Yes,
Club?
I am.
And why have you subscribed if it's not a win-win for you?
Yeah.
What was the logic? Or was it an emotion?
No, it was for holidays, and they have one of the best properties there. The question is that it's all depending on discretionary expenses. Simple as that. When you go for a subscription, the subscription are not cheap, by the way. Whether it's a purple or a red or a blue.
Sorry, you have taken it.
No, I took it 15 years back. So
Regardless.
so so those subscriptions are there in any case which is there, but you need to spend those in that kind of amount on holiday share. This is nothing but a holiday share business which is there. If the number of subscribers don't come in, then there's an issue with respect to the income which is there. So there is a slowdown because consumption, urban slowdown is there, and that should impact them, and there's no doubt about it. So that is one thing which is hitting them hard. And the second thing is that like every hotels or F&B business, if people are not traveling much to holiday shares, or there are no not additional subscribers coming in, then the share of F&B also comes down. So it's a urban consumption phenomena. The moment consumption resumes, it should go up.
I think it's the accounting also, right? Because they account, like if you get a new
They
subscriber.
amortize over for the period of the subscription. So it's 25 years if I'm not wrong.
But it's such a beautiful model.
Yeah.
You get cash upfront.
Yeah.
You build your hotels.
Yes.
And thereafter people come and start using it.
Yes.
And when I
And
was
you
speaking
pay annual maintenance fees
correct
as well,
yes.
which is our inflation indexed.
And if you go to their properties, you will leave the property.
Yeah.
Because it's somewhere far inside.
Yes.
So you will not leave the property to go out and eat lunch and dinner. You will have lunch and dinner also on the property.
Yes.
Great recurring revenue.
Yeah.
So when I was speaking with the management, I believe it's a bit of a chicken and egg, and this is what I asked them. You have such a beautiful model. Why aren't you growing well enough? So they said it's a little bit of a chicken and egg. We have to build hotels to ensure that the pipeline of people who are trying to book their hotel, आपको भी पता है 3-3, 4-4 महीने 6-6 महीने पहले बुक हो जाता है सब.
अरे 3 महीने पहले आपको SMS आता है कि ये खुलने वाला है, और तब तक आप करोगे तब तक बुक हो जाता है.
हाँ, it's like Coldplay concert. It's
simple. And
I wouldn't want to do that.
And then they give you the carrot. अच्छा आप ब्लू में है तो रेड में आ जाइए, रेड में है तो पर्पल में आ जाइए.
सबको रेस टू द पर्पल ही है वो सबका. उसके बाद क्या है सर?
So the point is that it's a beautiful business model, I feel. But I think that
but
there are a few challenges.
Consumption है कि
consumption भी है.
I means new subscribers will not spend 3 to 4 lakhs on a on a red or a purple contract. Simple as
now we have to accelerate this.
Yes.
So Venkat Kalyan, what could be better, 2 or 3 sectors at present for the next 1 to 2 years? Though pharma, but unfortunately today it's getting beaten. Can I please know? Steel industry has good tailwinds. Okay, Venkat, with regard to pharma, we're going to have a very interesting chat at 2:10 today on India Market Close. Why don't you tune in? That will give you perspective. But too many questions asked. It will be difficult for us to cater. I'll focus more on auto today. Venkat, so maybe your question tomorrow or day after. Siddharth
Sona
Bidhi,
Comstar going into
Sona
railways.
Comstar.
Yeah.
Is there a chance of revival? Railway components, large order book. I want to combine it with one more question. What are the best companies for EV transition? Is Sona one of them?
I think Ashok Leyland भी है ना जो he should.
Vikindaran, Ashok Leyland इसके बाद लेते हैं because उसमें कुछ अलग ही चल रहा है.
Yeah, for Venkat, it's like hospitals could be a interesting space to look at because most hospitals are investing. They've invested over the last 2-3 years. Capex has been done. New companies like KIMS are now entering into Maharashtra. They've been sort of focused, so something to look at. For Sona Comstar, they have roughly 7 times of their current revenue is their order book that's executed over the next 10 years. So that, and out of that, 79% is EVs. I think
79% is EV.
79% is EV. So it's a very interesting play, and it caters to the likes of Tesla. So it's a very recognized global auto component maker. So it's something to definitely watch out for. While valuations have cracked because of the global picture, I think definitely something. And the thing is, they made a hybrid product for the hybrid car. Market moved to EV, so hybrid attack gaya. But now EV is slowing down in Europe, so they are going back to hybrid. And its product already ready hai. So that could be something that the management.
That's very interesting.
By the way,
That's
EV के मामले में,
Yeah.
I was reading the BYD analyst call,
Yeah.
and they are projecting 28% jump in in number of units they're going to sell in 2025.
Sir, China's EV infra is very different from rest
Hear
of
me
the
out.
world.
आपने पूरा नहीं सुना, पूरा सुना नहीं आपने. चाइना में सिर्फ ग्रोथ 3 to 5% है, तो बाकी ग्रोथ कहाँ हो रहा है? ग्लोबल
या तो मार्केट शेयर ले रहा है चाइना में.
नहीं,
BYD
यूरोप में होगा ना.
वो बोल रहा है कि मेरा चाइना में ग्रोथ 3 to 5% उसका 3 to 5%, तो बाकी ग्रोथ ग्लोबल मार्केट से हो रहा है.
Yeah. So it's basically Europe.
इंडिया में भी मैंने काफी BYD देखना चालू किया है. आजकल बहुत दिख रहा है.
But also interesting for Sona is the acquisition that they did, railway equipment division for escorts. I think that will come in FY27. So when you compare FY26 P to 27, वो आधा हो जाता है essentially. But effectively the transaction is something to watch for. I think it could be a very interesting opportunity because Sona
उतना टाइम लगेगा उसको.
tech heavy तो है, but हाँ, I think now they've like changed some the measures of that. So I think yeah.
अशोक लेलैंड का क्या हो रहा है बताओ?
हाँ वो बताओ.
So
Mrinal has asked this
yeah,
question. Sorry. So we address Vigin's question and Siddharth Birdi's question.
Yeah.
Mrinal's question now.
I think Ashok Leyland, I think they held a call yesterday. They made the disclosure that they are shutting down the manufacturing facility of Switch UK. They have a Switch India facility also. So Switch UK ka manufacturing they are stopping, and because they mentioned that economic uncertainty hai, wo business utna turn around nahi ho paya. But India business has been doing very phenomenally well. So they feel that that business opportunity is a better, and it's a drag basically. उनका को 400 करोड़ का हर साल का loss था for the last 3 years, and they've looked at it. They've looked at the future. They've taken a call कि we are shutting down. So it's a positive in that business aspect.
And Switch order book is also very healthy actually.
Yeah, it's very healthy, and they've said कि UK का they'll continue the business after market, but I think the India is the next growth opportunity for them, and I think they mentioned some really like the immediate cost will be 5 to 10 million pounds specifically. तो but Switch India break even already EBITDA हो चुका है FY25 में, and PAT break even in 4 to 6 quarters. So it's
his concern is that Ashok Leyland gets a lower valuation compared to other auto companies.
And I think he's trying to change that with the fact that he made a very important announcement yesterday that he's not going to do GCC model going forward. Basically, just very layman is these guys give, for example, bus to BST bus. So if you're from Maharashtra, you would know BST. And then they 12 years stuck, they get some EMI payment essentially. They don't get the full value of the bus, and they have to operate it and maintain it.
तो capital अटक जाता है.
तो capital अटक जाता है. Now, yesterday, Ashok Leyland said कि we are just going to do outright sale. Now it restricts them to only the rich STUs. So like Maharashtra government can buy, Delhi government can buy, but the other government जिनका financial थोड़ा हिला हुआ है, they won't be able to buy. But I think they've taken a call कि हमको ये नहीं करना है. We don't want to get stuck in the the financial working capital aspect. So on
that's a good one.
On the business aspect, it's
but there could be a short-term hit because of that.
No, I don't think so. I think with what announcements that Delhi has made that they want 5,500 buses. Yesterday, Maharashtra
Demand
said
तो काफी है basically.
2,500 buses. So I think.
Sir, महाराष्ट्र में तो बस की जरूरत है यार. ये क्या BST?
अभी मेट्रो आएगा तो बस की जरूरत पड़ेगी.
हाँ, पर वो स्टेशन तो जा रहे हैं ना ऑफिस, उसके लिए बस चाहिए हमको basically.
अच्छा, by the way, Devanshu Kumar has given us an idea.
Yeah.
And this is for you actually. Because you are eyeing bulls, bears and banter. So I think Devanshu is suggesting that
Trump, tariff and Tandav.
So Devanshu is saying, why don't you start a new show, Puneet?
12 to 12:30 and I'll get a couple of people.
Yeah.
So वो कर ले. Better. There's always room for all of us.
All of us.
Yes. There's something on Dash.
But thank you, Devanshu. We appreciate you watching and enjoying our show. Views on real estate, difficult to take today. Actually, we are out of time, sir, to be frank. We are 1:10. So, we'll close for today, sir.
Today, Devanshu का तो हमने ले लिया है. Impact we have already spoken about the impact that autos will have.
Plenty of questions.
Yeah, plenty of
some
questions.
were on Alcobev stocks. We'll take some of those. Alcobev,
महिमा को फिर से बुलाएंगे.
फिर से बुलाएंगे. There was one on real estate as well. We'll talk about some of those.
tomorrow.
By the way, I spoke to a very interesting real estate company today, Arcade Developers. Why
Yes.
don't you go and check that? We've done
Yeah,
a
the
KYC
producers
know your
can
company on it.
drop the link
yeah,
there.
they can drop the link once it's uploaded. I don't think it's uploaded yet, but maybe once it's done. Anyway, thank you guys. I
Yes.
think we should call it.
We
a
should
day.
call it.
Yeah.
And see
Thank
you tomorrow.
guys. See you tomorrow.
Okay, Sasha.
Sorry, you're closing हमेशा.
नहीं वो नहीं.
Pharma industry. Company